Some of the best people can't get jobs. They're highly qualified, well educated and have experience. Why? It could be because of mobility constraints, for example a physical disability, mental or a variable condition. It could be time constraints, particularly for carers of young children or increasingly the elderly, and so you can't fit into a particular work pattern. It could be an ism of some sort, whereby you're regarded as too young or too old for that office culture. It happened to me. I'd worked as an investment banker for 25 years, when suddenly I was more or less confined to a small town some 30 kilometres south of London. It did give me the opportunity to think and ask questions. What sort of work could I do? Who would employ me? And most particularly, what had to change? This plan is the answer to those questions. So what work could I do? The work is virtual, sometimes called teleworking or home working. Everything is done electronically, from recruitment through training to work allocation to supervision, reviews and hopefully even promotion. This is made possible by technology such as email, the cloud and Skype. With virtual work, the outcome, that is the timeliness and quality of your work, becomes much more important than the process, which is how and when you do the work. And this obviously is to the advantage of carers who require that sort of flexibility. The second question, who can provide this sort of work? The public services or government are natural providers of virtual work. Much of government acts as a giant information hub. Most of this is done electronically and can be done as well and as efficiently out of the office as in the office. The public services also tend to be the country's largest and most varied employer, which means that they can offer virtual work ranging from business administration, business processing, through writing, design, to professional services such as accountancy or compliance and finance. Finally, the public services are market leaders in the use of flexi-time and job sharing, and virtual work is really just the next step. But why should the public services and government invest in this sort of culture change when times are so tough? The first reason has always been there. They have a social responsibility to help those at a disadvantage, which perhaps the corporate world doesn't. But the second and overwhelming reason is that they need to save money. And again, the corporate world is quite healthy at the moment, judging by the stock markets. And virtual work does save money. Firstly, if you have less people working in the office, you don't pay as much for space or equipment, utilities and so on. Secondly, virtual workers tend to command lower salaries for one good reason. They don't have the cost of commuting and travel to factor in. Thirdly, many of the virtual workers in our target group will stop paying benefits and start paying taxes. If you put all these factors together, the potential for savings is considerable. Corporates will follow if the government model is successful, and so expand the range of virtual opportunities, both to the target group and beyond. The last question, what has to change? Well, in terms of infrastructure, very little. Most governments have their own job search website, which tends to be the most heavily trafficked. These can be modified at little cost to include a new alternative. For example, by location, one could have the option virtual, which one could then filter down into full-time or part-time or contract and further filter down into job categories as before. In conclusion, it's about virtual work provided by the public services where both parties benefit. The other factors that arise, such as how to affect culture change, how to reach the target group, how to support virtual workers, and even what to call this type of work, be it e-work or virtual or home working. All these topics are covered in the final proposal, which will go to the EU Committee on the 12th of April. Thank you for your time.